Does everyone know what time it is? Toilets to Titles is proud to present Title Time. And here's your hosts, Rich, George, and Jason.
And welcome to Title Time for a Week 6 NFL edition. I'm your host, Jason, and with me, as always, as our lovely assistant announced, George and Rich. George, say hi to the people.
Hi, people. That's what you want me to say, right? No, what's going on, everybody?
More importantly, say hi to Eli.
Yeah. Hey, Eli, my buddy, my friend. By the way,
he's become the most loyal listener.
He's absolutely the most loyal listener. Every show that Jason's on, we get the joy and pleasure of having his son join us in the conversation in the comments.
And now that George has talked to my son, Rich, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Week 6. And I know we were talking fishbowl earlier, but besides fishbowl, we got Frankenstein going on. We got so many day leagues going on. I wish I could say I was doing as well in fishbowl that I am doing Frankenstein. I'm one of the undefeated teams, but I'm loving it, man.
I'm doing poorly in both, man. It's been a bad season for injuries for the guys that I champion in this off season. So here's the thing. The weird thing is that the leagues I don't care that much about. I joined a couple of leagues real late, and they're money leagues, so it'd be nice to win them. But they're leagues I don't care as much about, and I'm absolutely crushing in both of those leagues. I'm 5-0 in both of those leagues. But the leagues that I really deeply wanted to prove myself in, the Scott Fishbowl, the Frankenstein, man, it's been a rough go. Can
I say one thing real quick? If I usually don't nap and stuff like that. For some reason, it's hard for me to nap, but I've had some of the best naps in my life and stuff like that. And I don't know where if you guys nap much at all or anything like that, but I think the best place for me to nap is every time I take my wife shopping and I let her go in the store and go park somewhere in the parking lot and just lean that chair back. Man, I swear those are the most rejuvenated naps I take when I do take them, man.
I absolutely cannot agree. I disagree 100%. I absolutely refuse to allow my wife to walk into any store with my credit card by herself without me being right there, because I know when she's done and she comes back, man, I'm down $200-300 easy. So I'm not a baller like Rich and Jason. I'm the poor guy on the show. I have to steal my neighbor's internet just to do this show. That's how bad it is. So I'm not allowing my wife to go into any store unsupervised. Not happening.
How you say that? I had a dream that my neighbor came over last night and asked me to steal my internet for the games today.
So that wasn't a dream. That was actually me, but I wasn't asking. I was just taking.
Okay.
Listen, the best place for me to take a nap is any place I can safely close my eyes. I will take a nap just about anywhere, sitting up, laying down. I mean, look, if you put me in a comfortable chair and start a movie after 8 p.m., done. Literally in the movie theater, it doesn't matter. I'm just out. So best place for me to take a nap is just wherever is comfortable. So I have to ask the question I ask every week. I'm going to start with Rich. Rich, what game are you looking forward to most this week?
Man, you threw me for a loop there. I totally forgot about this question. Let's say Raiders.
Can't say your own team, Rich.
Oh, that's right.
Can't say your own team.
Hey, ask George real quick. Let me come back to this one. I apologize.
George?
So I'm going to go with the Giants and the Buffalo Bills, because who is not looking forward to seeing the New York Giants play? I know I am. No, I'm
so glad they're on primetime yet once again.
Yes. The only thing that would be worse than the Giants being on primetime is them forcing us to watch the Jets in primetime once again. No, the game I'm looking forward to that's not the Dolphins game is probably going to be I think it's the Sunday night game. It's the Cowboys and the Chargers. That is going to be the NFL's highest over/under according to Las Vegas. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be a lot of fantasy points. You got Dallas looking to rebound after a very embarrassing loss to the 49ers. You got the Chargers coming off their bye. Like I'm looking forward to it. It should be very, very good.
All right. Did you come up with one, Rich?
Yes, I did.
I
had it.
I filibustered as much as I could.
I appreciate that, George. I had it, but I wanted to make sure there wasn't something else. It's actually the Colts and Jags game. I know Anthony Richardson is not going to be in this game and everything after his injury, but JT it's going to be his second week. He didn't get nowhere close to the touches that we thought he was going to get last week. Zach Moss freaking looked like he's fighting off Jonathan Taylor the best he can and everything. You got the Minshew aspect where he's filling in for Richardson, and he's going to be playing against his Jag team and stuff like that, where he used to play for and got kicked away because of them drafting Trevor Lawrence. But also, too, is the Jags were over in London for 2 weeks. And as much as they have the advantage and stuff like that, do they have a disadvantage coming back and everything and having that jet lag for being over there 2 weeks? I want to see how they perform. ETN is slowly becoming that CMC junior that we kind of thought he was going to be coming out of college and everything. So excited to see what he can do another week in the lineups.
Yeah, so for me, I can't pick my own team, but I think that's one of the more exciting games on the slate to see whether the Buccaneers are actually for real. I mean, so I'll say no, they're not for real. They're not Super Bowl contenders. They're not top tier. But like, can they do well against that next tier of teams? That's what I want to see from that game. But I can't say my own team. So I'm going to pick the Bears and the Vikings game. It'll be interesting to see how Kirk Cousins reacts to not having Justin Jefferson, whether Addison can come out and step into that role. That's something that we all want to see. And also whether or not Fields can keep it going. You know, he's had 2 weeks of 4 touchdowns. You know, when you think of Fields in his game, you think of the running attack, and he did rush on a little bit last game, but it wasn't like it was last year where it was 100 rushing yards and then a touchdown or 2 in the air and like 100 and something yards. It was, it's plenty of yards, plenty of touchdowns in the air, and then a little bit of rushing sprinkled in, kind of what you see out of like most of your drop back with rushing ability quarterbacks. You're actually seeing real quarterback play from him. So against a Vikings defense that is pretty damn awful, you want to see if Fields can keep doing it. So I'm looking forward to that game because I think the two teams aren't anything special to me, but like it's interesting fantasy football wise for me. So that's the game I'm kind of looking forward to fantasy wise. Plus I have a lot of pieces in that game. Talking to George, I'm in a place now where I have to start Devonta Foreman in a couple leagues because there's just been too many injuries. And, you start with Roschon and, concussed, and you just have a bunch of guys that have gone down, and you find yourself in a spot where Devonta Foreman is a start for you. And, honestly, potentially a good one. He's had some fantasy relevant weeks. So that's a game I'm looking forward to the most.
So is anybody outside of Rich? So basically Jason or you looking forward to the Patriots East versus Patriots West, aka the Raiders?
No, I want to be nice to Rich. Look, Josh Jacobs, I want to see him do well. I've got him in a couple spots. Looks like he's making he's starting to be fantasy relevant again after taking all the offseason off. It seems like he's getting warmed up and into football shape. Outside of that, Devontae Adams, I love Jacoby Myers. That's a guy, one of the guys I banged on the drum this offseason saying that this guy could be good, that is actually doing something decent. So having him do well would be good for me. But short of that, The Patriots have been a terrible team to watch. And really, I think Rich's only real reason for wanting to watch, besides being a fan, is the fact that it looks like a game that the Raiders should win. And sometimes when your team isn't super great, there's not a lot of those teams on your schedule, right, Rich?
That is very true. But we do have a good stretch coming up. So we take any dub is a beautiful dub to me right now.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of these teams that have looked good and have bad stretches on the horizon, or teams that have looked real bad that have good stretches on the horizon. And then there's some teams that just are awful, like the Patriots, and it doesn't matter what teams are on their schedule, they're going to look bad. So, as long as Mac Jones is still that quarterback, I know George loves him some Mac Jones, but I don't think.
Well, dude, I've been saying Mac Jones is trash for years, and people are like, "Oh, he's so good. He's better than Tua. He's better than this person." Blah blah blah. Guess what? Mac Jones sucks.
All right, let's get to a couple of these comments here, and then we'll get to the questions. William says, "Hey, fellas." Robert Thomas, is that the guy from Matchbox 20? He doesn't have as much hair, but he says, "What's going on?" McD says, "Good morning." And then we'll get to our first question: Cousins or Burrow? And Burrow spelled with the Louisiana flair there. So, what do you think, Rich? Cousins or Burrow? Oh, you're muted, Rich.
Yep. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
Look, Cousins, as we all know, is going to be playing for the next 4 weeks at least without Mr. Justin Jefferson. So does that truly affect him? And obviously, we're all going to say yes, having your number one receiver, probably arguably number one receiver next to Tyreek Hill this year. If he was staying healthy and everything. You got Burrow going against the Seahawks. Seahawks defense they've been decent. They've been kind of right there and everything, but they're not stop everybody and everything. So I still look for Cousins to be in those games where they fall behind, and your garbage time points is just as good as any other points out there and everything. So for me, I am going Cousins. Because I do see him probably for the rest of the time that Jefferson's out, then being behind and constantly having to throw. So I'm going to take garbage points.
George?
Yeah, I'm going Cousins as well. Like, I like both of these options. Don't get me wrong. They're both fantastic options. I'm still a little concerned about Joe Burrow's calf. I'm worried about a flare up there. Obviously, it looked great. Last week, I think it was last week, where he threw 100 touchdowns to Jamar Chase. But Cousins has just the juiciest matchup of all juiciest matchups. The Bears are 32nd in the NFL against opposing quarterbacks. He still has enough weapons in TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, and KJ Osborne to score on the Bears, who allowed the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks at 27.2 points per game. All five quarterbacks against Chicago scored at least 20.4 points. So you've got yourself a pretty safe floor there. And that includes league winners and just absolute future Hall of Famers like Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, and Sam Howell. Cousins has only had one game with fewer than 20.5 fantasy points this year, and he scored at least 21.6 fantasy points in 4 of his past 6 games against the Bears dating back to 2020. I understand Justin Jefferson's not there. That's a big blow to that team, but I think Kirk Cousins can still overcome, and I would start Cousins over Burrow.
And I'm, you said everything I would say. I'll just add that, Jefferson's not there, but Hawkinson still is. I think Hawkinson's going to be more than enough to get that done, through the air for Cousins. And then you throw in a guy like Addison and, Osborne, who hasn't been great this season, but you've seen as relevant or decent in spots. And against that Bears defense, I think he'll be more than adequate. So I'm going with Kirk Cousins as well. All right. McD has another question for us, and it is a gross one. I mean, it's not gross, but It's difficult to choose between these three, I think. But George, I'm going to let you go first. Mixon, Walker, and Ayuk.
So for me, this is actually a pretty easy one.
Is it?
Yeah, I think I'm going to sit Joe Mixon on this one. I'm not sitting Walker. First off, foremost, I'm absolutely not sitting Kenneth Walker. Bengals are giving up the fourth most yards on the ground to running backs. Walker is tied for third amongst RBs in touchdowns and fifth in red zone carries. So Walker is an automatic must start. He's absolutely starting week in, week out. Does not matter. My issue then comes between Mixon and Ayuk. Mixon plays 75% of the Bengals snaps. He averages less than 5 yards per touch and has only scored one touchdown on the season. 66% of his runs are right up the middle, where he's only averaging 2.1 yards per rush, which I don't know if you're aware or not, but that's not very good.
Rich, do you agree? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
As far as Brandon Ayuk goes, it's a much tougher matchup. The Browns only allow 91 yards per game to wide receivers, and they allow just under one touchdown per game. On paper, this should be a very difficult matchup for the 49ers wide receivers, but I think talent will win out, and I think Brandon Ayuk is going to outscore Joe Mixon this week.
You know what, Rich, I was going to go to you next, but I'm going to put you in the middle because I am on the Mixon side here. The fact of the matter is,
make him pick, Jason. Make him pick a side.
The fact of the matter is, the Browns are a good defense. Ayuk is one of several people Brock Purdy can go to, and you never know whether it's going to be a Kittle 3-touchdown week or a Debo week or a Christian McCaffrey 4-touchdown week, and then Ayuk becomes the odd man out. What I can say is, while it's been efficient, Mixon hasn't killed you any given week. Hasn't been a ceiling, but definitely hasn't killed you, and is on the field 75% of the time he's on the field. He's getting all the touches. 75% of the time he's getting the touches 100% of the time. I don't know. Anyway, so for me, I'm going to take the volume with Mixon over the possibility that it's an Ayuk week against a tough defense. So Rich, but I also agree that Walker is the guy. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah. So, Jason went Mixon. George, you went Mixon too, correct?
No, I went. No, we both went Walker. I went Ayuk. Jason went Mixon.
Okay, I got you. So, Jason made a very valid point on why he's going Mixon. But here's the thing that is making this decision, I want to say, just as easy as probably George said and stuff like that. As you can see, I am going to go Kenneth Walker, but I am going Ayuk and everything. Deshaun Watson is going to be out of the game, and they're not starting the rookie QB. They're starting PJ Walker. Okay. This 49ers defense is going to eat him up and everything. And what that translates to is Browns, the offense is not going to be on the field much. They're going to be in and out. They're going to have some drives. I get it and stuff like that. But 49ers offense is going to be on the field a lot more than the Browns offense is. So Ayuk, although they are playing a great defense and everything, is going to have much more opportunities as much as they're going to be on the field, because the 49ers defense is going to be shutting down that Cleveland's defense and everything, and getting them in and out on a lot of 4 play drives and everything. So I'm taking the opportunity that Ayuk is going to be on the field a lot more than Mixon is.
So.
Oh, that's it. You insulted my honor. I demand satisfaction. I challenge you to a duel.
I shan't mince words with you for long. I am challenging you, sir, to a duel.
Sir, your challenge is accepted.
I accept. Now I accept your challenge.
All right, guys. So with that sound, that means that George, Rich, and I have just entered into a rival fantasy challenge. I am going to be taking Joe Mixon. These guys are going to be taking Brandon Ayuk. Every week we go through this and we do like a $5 challenge through Rival Fantasy. Winner of the challenge usually just donates the money they win to a charity of their choice. I would be donating it to BFTG charities, but it's up to these guys who they want to donate it to as well. So Rival Fantasy is a partner with Toilets to Titles. If you go to rivalfantasy.com/title tribe, you can get an additional $25 deposit with any deposit you make for the first time. But also, Rival Fantasy will match your deposit up to $200. So this week it's our challenge. The cool thing about Rival Fantasy is they can do stuff like this. It used to be if you had a bar bet with somebody, you'd have to do it there in person and then wait for the games and then try and catch up to them later. That's back in the days before the internet. But the beautiful, beautiful internet has given us Rival Fantasy, which allows us to make these type of one-on-one bets on individual players. And then you have a third party to hold that other person accountable. You don't have to track them down later. Rival Fantasy is very cool for that kind of stuff. They also have what Justin loves is the bingo cards. And if you've ever played bingo, it's like that, but with football stats and players. So bingo is actually kind of fun. I haven't won, but I know Justin did, and it's a lot of fun. But guys, all right, so we got through that question. The other thing I wanted to mention too, we've got a couple of promotions going. We've got some stuff to talk about, but first, patreon.com/toilets-titles. We have a tier for every budget or a tier for every salary, depending on how you want to talk about it. We have a $1.50 tier all the way up to George will come over and cook you dinner tier.
That's right. And it's not cheap, but I can cook. So,
and it depends on how much you want to spend on what you actually get to eat. So we got that tier. We got the Joe Spoons with you at night tier. We got the coach comes and straightens out your life tier. We got them all. So patreon.com/toilets-titles. Also, I want to talk about our Gilded chat. We have a chat in Gilded. It's kind of like Discord, but better. You get into this chat for free. Just reach out to toiletstitles@gmail.com and we'll get you into the chat. It's 250 people talking about Toilets Titles and football and everything related to football, including IDP and gambling. And I mean, you name it, NFL game chat during the chat. And then also, if you pay for our Patreon, we have a separate Patreon chat for our Patreon members within our Gilded. So like there's all kinds of stuff. You have access to us all the time to ask your trade questions, your start-sit questions. We're on there all the time. Whereas we're more interactive than pretty much any group here on the internet with fantasy football. We are reaching out and talking to you guys constantly about football in our Gilded chat. So check that out as well. And then I know Rich wanted to, Coach is offering something cool up. So I wanted to pass it over to Rich so he can talk about it now.
Yeah, so we are going to be doing some spooky squares. I have it down on the bottom, okay? We are giving away, are we doing one or two for this for the show today?
Two. He said two.
All right, two. So we'll be giving away 2 squares, but if you are interested, we do have a few squares left. And no worries. We do have a few squares left. It's going to be for the Monday night game, the 30th, the Raiders at the Lions. So hit us up if you do want to entry and everything. I had it pulled up real quick. I apologize. We are going to, as of right now, gosh dang it. My bad, guys.
No worries.
They are $5 a square, and right now payouts: first quarter $50, second quarter $150, third quarter is going to be $75, and the final is going to be $225. So if you play squares, we got spooky squares. We're going to be giving away 2, and also if you guys are interested in getting some, hit us up. Hit Jason, George, me, or Coach Chefs up on Twitter. Hit us up in our Gilded and stuff like that, and we'll get you in.
All right, so what we're gonna do is the spookiest question today, the question we think is the grossest, the scariest, as it were. We're gonna get you into our Halloween Squares program. So, all right. Let's see. We've got Valves. By the way, I don't know. Hey, what's up? And then Dustin. Morning, boys. One quick one for you and then back to work. London or Atwell full PPR? This one might be in the running. This one might be in the running for Square. You know what? I am going to say Tutu Atwell here. Scored a touchdown last week. The Rams are running 11 personnel on 100% of snaps. That means there's 3 wide receivers on the field at any given time. They just shipped Van Jefferson off for a bag of peanuts and a ticket out of town. The third wide receiver is going to be Tutu Atwell, which means, yes, he has to share with Puka and Cup, which is tough, but that also means he's going to be on the field, and you have to cover Puka and Cup. Tutu's good. I'm going to say Tutu Atwell. Rich is nodding with me, so I feel like he agrees. I'm probably going to go to him next. Make me sound good.
I mean, last week Atwell was in a couple questions and stuff like that, and I kind of stayed away from him due to the fact I want to see what Cup and everything. But after seeing the Jefferson being shipped out and Atwell getting that touchdown last week, he is a third viable option, especially on bye weeks. People are going to be dealing with them for the next 6 weeks and everything. So he will be a great as a third receiver if you need a fill and everything. He's going to get you. I want to say his floor every week is going to be around 10 and everything and stuff like that. And I feel like that's a safe play this time of the year to make sure you're getting some steady points. So I am going to go Atwell in this case too.
And George.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jason, and I'm going to go Drake London. And the reason I'm going Drake London is because the Commanders have allowed the fourth most receiving yards and most touchdowns to wide receivers through 6 weeks. London should be seeing coverage from Commanders rookie Emmanuel Forbes, who's allowed the second most yards per reception at 20. London, I mean, it's setting up to be a very good game for Drake London. The only problem is Arthur Smith going to throw the ball? Everything is there saying that they should throw the ball this game. I'm going to go with London here over Tutu, who, while, yes, he did score the touchdown last week, touchdowns, as we know, are not a weekly thing. They are very fluky. And if I'm not mistaken, he didn't have very many targets or yards last week.
He also didn't play the Cardinals last week. I'll throw that out there. Like the Cardinals are a dumpster player.
I understand that, but a vast majority of the targets went to two players, Puka and Cup. Puka Cup. Those are the only two wide receivers you want to trust when you have a better option on your team.
I don't know you have a better option, but that's fine.
London's a better option.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's put that to the test here with Palmer, Downs, and London. Pick PPR. I'm gonna start with Rich this time.
Palmer, Downs, and London. Oh man, all great three. Well, London, you can't really consider a third receiver. He is their number one receiver there, but Palmer is going to have a good matchup. They're playing against the Cowboys. A lot of coverage is going to go to Keenan Allen. Downs, you know what? I really like Downs and stuff like that with Minshew playing at and stuff like that. He gets a lot of attention when Minshew's in. London, look, Jason, Georgia did a little talking about him the previous question. I'm actually going to go Downs on this question. I like his opportunity. He's going to see an uptick with Minshew in there, as he did every time Minshew has come in and everything. So Downs will be the choice for me on this one.
George.
So Josh Downs has a 24% target share with Gardner Minshew throwing the ball, which is very good. So I do like Josh Downs, but I'm sticking with my guns, and I'm going with London here for the reasons I mentioned previously over Tutu Atwell.
Yeah, full PPR makes me want to pick Downs. I'm going to say it like this. I think Downs is a per reception play, so I think he's a very safe floor. While I'm not sure he has a lot of opportunity at I could be wrong, but I guess I'm not seeing a lot of long touchdowns or touchdown for Downs. London to me is an upside play where, maybe he catches a touchdown. Like I would pick London over Downs and over Palmer here. Yeah, I'm gonna go London here. So 2 for London, 1 for Downs. But that just says to me that I'm higher on Tutu Atwell than I am on Downs as well. Just putting stuff in tiers, man, as we go. Black Body Absorber, Ramondre Stevenson against the Raiders or White against the Lions? This has to be Ramondre for me.
Oof.
This has to be Ramondre. He has been awful.
This is
bad on bad
for me.
This is bad on bad
for me. Two guys. Most people were higher on Rashard White than I was to start the season. But man, these two guys have just been terrible.
All right. Well,
No.
that doesn't answer.
No, it does not. I'm pulling up my notes.
Okay,
Because,
Rich, while he's pulling up his notes, go ahead.
I'm good. I got it right here. Jason, give me half a second, would you? Allow me to breathe a little, okay? Good God. I'm going with Rashard White here based on the fact that it's a PPR, but I don't like either one of these running backs this week. Ramondre Stevenson, he's literally a full 50-50 split with Ezekiel Elliott. Only Dalvin Cook and Cam Akers have less rushing yards over expected in the entire NFL. Ramondre Stevenson, one of the biggest strengths he has is receiving the ball. He's a pass catching back. That's what he did last year. He excelled at it. The last 3 weeks, he has 3 total catches. That's 1 per week. Like, I want absolutely nothing to do really with anybody on New England because, well, it's New England. They suck. So for those reasons, I'm going to go with Rashard White here. But I really, honestly, I don't like either one of these guys.
Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, so George gave you the stats on Ramondre. Rashad White has topped 11 fantasy points 1 time on the season, has been inefficient with opportunity, and White has the 4th worst rushing yards over expected in the entire NFL. He's strictly a volume play. But with that being said, he doesn't have Zeke over in the backfield taking a 50-50 split and stuff like that. So this might be one of the scariest questions that we have to answer today too. So I'm going to throw this one out there in that case. But man, Black Body Absorber, do you have any receivers that you can maybe plug in as an option?
It's his running back too. He's got to start 2 backs.
I got you. I'm just trying to plead for another option and everything. But look, I'm going to go White just because he doesn't have to deal with Zeke.
Yeah.
So here's what I'll say. Week 1, 21 attempts, 93 yards. Week 2, 30 attempts, 178 yards. Week 3, 27 attempts, 94 yards. Week 4, 22 attempts, 77 yards. Week 5, 22 attempts, 78 yards. This is not the creme de la creme of running backs that has played the Raiders. You had the Broncos week 1. None of us thought their offense was any good. The Bills week 2, yeah, better. Steelers, Najee Harris, really? Week 4, the Chargers without Austin Eckler, and week 5, AJ Dillon. Yeah, I think we can see a week here where Mondre gets it done. I get what you guys are saying. It's a split. I will take that split over what we've seen from Rashard White because, yes, it's PPR and he gets receptions, not a lot of them and not for a lot of yards. The other thing he hasn't done with his receptions is gain yards after. So for me, I am going to take the shot at on that matchup. And if we hadn't already burned our challenge, this might have been it. But I like the
this would have been a very
anyway.
gross, scary, spooky challenge.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't like this challenge because none of us really like these 2 players to do well. We're just picking amongst 2 that we don't like because that's the question. So, but let's see. I'm gonna let George go first because George play 1, Tua or Fields this week.
Oh, come on. This is an easy one. It's Tua. Are you serious? Against Carolina, who is one of the worst defenses in the NFL? Absolutely. Listen, Jalen Waddle is going to be a must start. Raheem Mostert is a must start. Tyreek Hill is the best wide receiver right now in the entire NFL. This is Tua, and it's not close.
Rich?
Yeah, look, I can understand why he's asking the question and everything because of Fields' performance and stuff last week and everything. He does give you that opportunity to have another big game and everything. But just like George said, look, this is Miami playing against Carolina. And what this tells me and stuff like that is, and what I'm trying to tell everybody is any Carolina player you got, like Thielen, Bryce, I know, what's his name? The backup since Sanders is not playing. I can't even think of his name.
Chuba Hubbard.
Have them in your lineup because I said it earlier. Look, garbage points is fantasy points equals a lot of points. They're going to get their opportunity and everything. Look, Thielen had a great game last week. I see him continuing. Hayden Hurst is going to have a good game. Look, they're going to be involved in everything because of the fact that they're playing against Miami, and Miami scores so much and everything. And yes, Devon A-Chain is out, but you do got a running back in there, Mostert, that is going to still do the same things that he was doing and everything. So a lot of points for Tua. Fields is going to have a good day too and everything, I believe. He's one of my must starts, but in this question right here, Tua has to be the choice.
I literally have him back to back in my rankings. And it's so close, but I actually have Fields one spot higher than Tua. And it's literally only because oftentimes the Dolphins get down to the goal line and they hand the ball off. You know, they're not throwing it inside the red zone the way a lot of teams do. And why would they? It works. You know, you've got Mostert with the most touchdowns on the ground in the league. You had A-Chain on an unbelievable clip. Now, a lot of his was from further out, but some weren't. And so I do worry a little bit when you get down to the red zone. Now, they're scoring more than anybody, so I'm sure the opportunities are still there for Tua. It's just a preference for me of, like, I don't see with Devonta Foreman the Bears being as successful on the ground, and they'll need to throw more. But again, it's super close for me. It's 2-1 to Field. So go ahead, Rich.
Yeah. So breaking news and stuff like this. This might change your decision, George. So I want to make sure you're aware. Chase Claypool is inactive for the game, so maybe not as much points for you that you're thinking about.
So what that tells me is the Dolphins may only drop 45 and not 57.
Okay. So not changing your choice. I just wanted to make sure. I want to throw it out there, make sure all our title tribe is aware of the situation. So
I do have to ask you a question, because Tyreek Hill called Chase Claypool, I think he called him a vending machine out there.
Yes.
What does that mean? Do we know what that means?
I didn't see what the meaning was. Without not realizing that, because that's what I wanted to think about it too. So
if you didn't read the entire quote, you don't understand it.
I didn't get the whole entire quote.
Exactly. He said he's like a vending machine. He's big, but he does so much. He has so many options of things he could do. Like, the kid is a big wide receiver. He's big bodied. He can block. He can run. He can catch the ball. He does a lot of different things, like vending machines. They have lots of different options. You can do a lot of different things with Chase Claypool. It was an absolute compliment from Tyreek Hill. It was not a diss.
I didn't think it was
big and slow.
I didn't think his teammate would diss him like that coming, as a trade or whatever. I didn't think it was. I guess I didn't understand it, because it's like, man, it does come off like, yeah, he's big and slow while everybody else is really fast.
Well, I mean, listen, he is big and slow compared to everybody else on the Dolphins. They're running a world-class track team out there, and then you got Chase Claypool, who is a big dude. He's fast, but he's not Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mostert, and A-Chain fast. He's just not. He's not even Robbie Chosen Anderson fast. Like, he's just not.
Hey, I don't think this is going to change anybody's opinion, but I do want to get to it while we've got it up, or while it was relatively fresh. Just changing from full PPR to half PPR, change your opinion on White versus Ramondre at all?
No, I'm still thinking White.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think so, but, he put it out there, so I figured I'd ask.
So, Jason, if you want, real quick, this is the quote that Tyreek Hill said when he said he looks like a vending machine. He's a big dude, Hill told reporters. What's crazy is he looks like a vending machine out there when he's running. Very fast, very fluid in his routes.
I've never seen a vending machine move quickly.
Listen, I have. You hit the button and the little thing just spins and it drops your food. That's pretty quick.
I've never seen one move quickly. I've also seen multiple of those vending machines not drop not actually give me the shit it's supposed to. Kind of like Chase Claypool, who has supposed to be a good wide receiver and hasn't really produced. So we'll see. We'll see if that changes.
Here's the rest of the quote. He's definitely going to be a huge addition to the team, whether it's blocking, whether it's receiving the ball, whether it's whatever the team needs him to do. I'm very happy to have him here. I feel like with the group we've got, everybody's competitive. Everybody wants to get better each and every day. That's going to help him get better. It's all about challenging each other. At the same time, I'm telling these guys, y'all are making my job easy. I'm excited to have him here. That's the entire quote. So yeah, the vending machine thing, taken out of context, it could sound like a diss. It absolutely was not. It was absolutely nothing but him doing what he does. Like when he first came to Miami, he hyped up Tua and he hyped up Waddle. He hyped up Mostert. Like he's a hype machine. He's hyping up his teammates.
All right. Black Body Absorber has another question for us. Need 2 flex. Downs, Lockett, Stevenson. Need 2. I'll start with Rich because he took a deep breath to make that.
Yeah,
answer.
PPR. Look, we've already kind of addressed the Stevenson situation. Here was where I was kind of trying to get an out earlier and stuff like that. If you had any other options, especially at receiver and stuff like that, I'm going to go down and Lockett. I know Patriots are playing the Raiders and everything, but the Raiders have the first half kind of start out, not being able to contain people, but second half they've been shutting people down and everything. Look, he's going to get his opportunity and everything, but I'm taking Downs and Lockett in this case. Downs going to have, we've already talked about the opportunity he's having. Although Metcalf has popped up on the injury report, Lockett, I just like him in case Metcalf doesn't have that opportunity today. So,
George,
with a lot less words, I'm going to just say I agree with Rich. Downs and Lockett. I want nothing to do with Stevenson.
And look, it sounds like I'm planting a flag on Stevenson. It's not the case at all, but I am going to say Lockett and Stevenson.
Yeah, you are.
I just think that Raiders defense is bad against running backs. I think he'll have some opportunity there. All right.
Ezekiel Elliott's going to have the opportunity.
Peter Sandoval says, Fields or Cousins? I heard you talking about Cousins earlier in the show, but I am stumped. I'm going to start, and I'm going to say Fields. 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games, playing against an absolutely terrible Vikings defense. And again, the safe floor because he will run a bit. And he's using Kmet and DJ Moore the way we wanted to see him use them at the beginning of the season. This is the Fields you wanted when you drafted him as one of the upper tier quarterbacks where you took him. So for me, I'm going to take Fields. But let's see if my compatriots here agree with me or not. I'm going to go with George next.
No, I'm sticking with Cousins. I mentioned it earlier. He still has his weapons. Granted, there's no Justin Jefferson, but there's still Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, K.J. Osborne. I talked about all 5 quarterbacks against Chicago have scored at least 20.4 fantasy points. That includes future Hall of Famers Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, and Sam Howell. Cousins has only had 1 game this year with fewer than 20.5 fantasy points. Fields cannot say that. And he scored at least 21.6 fantasy points in 4 of his past 6 games against the Bears dating back to 2020. So I'm sticking with Kirk Cousins here.
Can you do me a favor while Rich is answering?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how quick you may or may not be able to find this as fast as I'd like you to, but can you find out what the Vikings are giving up to quarterbacks this year? Like which during those games? Because I feel like you're going to find it's going to be just as bad. But
I'll take a look if I can find it.
Cool. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. And then Rich.
Yeah, so as me and Jason, we might state every once in a while, we do release top 10 rankings at each position each week and stuff like that. If you want to check us out, come check it out at toiletstitles.com and everything. He gives his 10, I give my 10. In my top 10, I have Justin Fields at 4, and I have Kirk Cousins at 6. I also released on TikTok my must starts at each position and everything. So Fields is my must start, and because I do have him ranked higher than Cousins, look, they're going to be battling out back and forth. They are playing against each other in this week's game and everything. So Fields, I do like his opportunity. The Vikings defense is pretty good against the run, but that's against running backs. I think Fields is going to be able to get out of the containment and everything and get some good yardage this week and everything. On top of that, DJ Moore, looks like they had a beautiful connection. They've had it all year long, but it just went another tier last week and everything, and I can expect them to continue what they started last week.
All right, George, did we give you enough time to find it?
No, I found it, but I have to do a little bit of math. I was not told that there would be math on this show, so that part I am completely unprepared for. But now I am absolutely prepared for it. Outside of Justin Herbert, who put up 35 points against the Vikings, no quarterback has had more than 26 points. You've got two quarterbacks below 20 points. You've got one quarterback below 10 points.
Okay, so how far below 20? Just so I know one was below 10. I don't know who that might have been, but I got to go back and look at their schedule.
Carolina, Bryce Young had 7. Baker Mayfield had 19.
Okay, so Baker was right there at 19, and then we can dismiss Bryce Young because he's just an awful quarterback.
We can't dismiss him. I mean, it is what it is. He's an NFL starting quarterback who was drafted number 1 overall. We can't just dismiss it like he doesn't exist.
We absolutely can dismiss him for fantasy like he doesn't exist, because for fantasy, dude doesn't exist. Not this year.
Listen, the Vikings defense existed that week because they were phenomenal.
As has everybody been against the Panthers. Mini Jordan 718. Good morning. Choose 3 in a full PPR. This is a good. I think this one's easy, right, guys? Kamara, James Cook, Mixon, and Kyron. I think we're all gonna say sit Mixon here.
Yep.
Anybody disagree with that?
No. 100%.
I think it's all not bad. Look, Mixon's not a bad play, but those other plays are better. So we can get through that one pretty easy. Start 2 full point PPR. Garrett Wilson, Ayuk, Mixon, and Godwin. George.
I am not starting Garrett Wilson this week. It is the matchup with the Eagles is probably going to be his toughest matchup of the season. So I want absolutely nothing to do with Garrett Wilson. It's that game's going to be just a one-way slaughter fest. I'm sitting Garrett Wilson. I'm going to play Brandon Ayuk, and I'm going to play Chris Godwin.
Rich?
Man, George, you stumped me there and everything. Look, we know Philadelphia could be thrown on and everything. So does Wilson have time to sit back there and get Garrett Wilson?
That's the concern. The Eagles' defense is number 1 in QB pressure, and we know how Zach Wilson is when he's pressured. He's terrible. So there's always going to be the chance that Garrett Wilson can break one like that in a world that does exist. But man, it's not something I want to rely on when I got some better options that I just feel safer with.
Safer is what the key word you just said for me. Look, I think the safe picks here is going to be Godwin and Mixon. Now, I know we talked about Ayuk earlier. He does have a tough matchup, but in the question earlier, I liked him over the option that we had. But in this case, I'm going to go Godwin and Mixon. If I really wanted to take a chance and stuff like that, I would throw Garrett Wilson and then Ayuk. But for me, I'm going to go with the safe play here and Godwin and Mixon, as Godwin will have a good matchup in today's game.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at as well. Godwin and Mixon. We mentioned earlier why I'm not necessarily down on Ayuk. More of it's a roulette each week of who's going to get the points. And if this week is Ayuk's week, you missed out, and I apologize. But there's 4 talented players there, and they don't all score every week. So for me, it's Mixon and Godwin. Bobby Trees, or Bobby Ham, as it is. I've never heard your opinion on my possible trade. Give away Zay Flowers and Damian Pierce and acquire Romeo Doubs, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jake Ferguson. Half PPR. Please and thank you. George?
So I want to keep Zay Flowers and Damian Pierce. I know Zay Flowers right now is the best player in this trade. And unless this is Dynasty, I'm assuming 100% that this is redraft. I want to keep Zay Flowers because he's the best player in the trade right now. Damian Pierce Damian Pierce has been absolute trash. The first part of the season, but if you look at the Texans' schedule, it actually starting to lighten up a little bit on running backs, and he should be doing a lot better going forward. Jahmyr Gibbs is not even playing, and when he is, like, he's not playing. Like, the Lions are just not using him. So yes, Zay Flowers is the best player in this trade. I like Jake Ferguson. I want to acquire him if I need a tight end, but I don't want to give away Zay Flowers or Dameon Pierce for Jake Ferguson. And Romeo Doubs is whatever. It's Romeo Doubs.
I think the problem for me with the statement, especially in redraft, and I'm not saying I do this trade, although I do feel like Gibbs is going to get utilized more and more as the season goes on. But
you hope so. We haven't seen it.
But I also feel like other than maybe last week against the Raiders, oddly enough, Romeo Doubs has probably outscored Flowers most weeks, and I think you can find what Flowers is giving you week in and week out from the waiver wire. I get he's the best player, and maybe he turns it on and ends up being the guy there. But, and this week he's got a touchdown. They're playing right now, so he's got a touchdown, which is saving his week because he's, again, 3 for 28, where, like, Nelson Aguilar has more yards. Odell Beckham has more yards. Rashad Bateman has the same amount, or one less reception. Justice Hill's catching the ball, and then you still have to deal with, although not today, Mark Andrews, who right now apparently has a goose egg. So he's their wide receiver 1, but right now that means 3 receptions for 28 yards, and you can find that on the wire currently. So I think Doubs replaces what Flowers is giving you week in and week out, and then you have an upside on a running back. Where there hasn't been any with Dameon Pierce, and that offensive line isn't any good. So I don't know. Personally, I probably do the trade, but I understand where George is coming from for sure. But especially if you need a tight end, I think Jake Ferguson's not a bad pickup there either. Although it's week in and week out like anything else. I think it's a relatively even trade. It's odd for me to say that Flowers is the head and shoulders best player in this deal when he hasn't. I don't even think he's outscored Doubs on the season, but I'd have to vet that.
I'll double check that in a second, but I'll tell you right now, Zay Flowers has scored double-digit fantasy points in every single game except one, and that was week 4 against Cleveland, and that includes today. And it's not all just touchdowns, because today was the only game he's actually got a touchdown on the season. So he's scoring double-digit fantasy points in PPR leagues. He's got 17.7 week 1, 10.8 week 2, which was 4 for 62. Against Indianapolis, 8 for 48, 3 for 56. That was the only one he didn't get a touchdown. 5 for 73. You're not finding those numbers on the waiver wires in most competitive leagues. He is absolutely the best player in this league. In this trade, he leads the team in targets. He leads the team in receptions. He leads the team in yards. He's the best player in this trade.
So Romeo Doubs has had 2 bad weeks, but his bigger weeks is 3 of the 5 weeks. He's had 18.6, 18.3, and 18.5.
And those are touchdowns, right? Touchdown related, which are fluky?
Well, not completely. 4 for 26, which is better than Flowers' current stat line. But that was 2
The game
touchdowns.
is in the third quarter. Of course it's better than the game's not even over. Oh, yeah, look, he did better this week.
5 for 73 against New Orleans with a touchdown. And then 9 for 95, no touchdowns against Detroit. So, he gets and then he gets Denver, Minnesota, LA, Pittsburgh, LA Chargers, Detroit again. Like his Doubs' schedule, that team's schedule is just juicy, which is again why I'm saying you're getting the same production out of these two guys. But that's Rich. Go ahead. I'm sorry. We will filibuster all day if you let us argue.
No, I know. I'm here for the enjoyment of it and stuff like that. So every time that I see you guys, I'm like, I kind of like lean in and like, But look, as far as this question goes, look, here's the one thing you got to think about too is look, this is a 2 for 3 trade. So obviously you're probably going to have to drop somebody too and stuff like that. And not knowing who you're dropping and stuff like that kind of distorts it a little bit. I like the Zay Flowers and Pierce side because of the fact that, look, I'm probably dropping somebody to pick up those 3. look, as much as we want to say about Jamar Gibbs and what the expectation was, look, it's not going to happen this year. Look, they've planted their flag with Montgomery and everything. Unless he gets injured and everything, I just don't see him. I mean, he's going to have some games, but it's one of those games you're going to be deciding when that's going to. You don't know when that's going to happen and everything. So that's what is the big decision for me and everything. Because look, it's Montgomery season there in Lions country, and as much as it may be in the future and stuff like that, look, he's going to be there next year too and everything. So what are we going to truly be getting from him and everything? So Dubs, look, last week's game burnt me on him. Look, I know he has some good games and stuff like that. We were kind of expecting a good one from him last week, and that's going to be the case. There's going to be some games like that. So there's another person right there too that you don't know it's going to be a hit or miss and everything. You're going to get those games and everything. Zay Flowers, he's been consistent. He looks like their number one receiver, even though today's his first touchdown and everything. Look, it's just the way this offense is and everything. I'd rather have Tucker in this trade and everything to make it a lot more easier for me. But I'm leaning Flowers and Pierce.
All right, so 2-1. Logan Glaze, pick one in PPR. Nico Collins, T. Higgins, Saquon Barkley, Jamison Williams. This is tough for me. Nico Collins, to me, is head and shoulders the best play here. The problem is they're playing against the Saints. The Saints have been pretty good against wide receivers, although I'll have to get that with George's notes here. But T. Higgins is the type of guy who tells you he's playing and then gets no snaps. He's active but not on the field. Barkley coming back from injury with behind that offensive line, I got to see it first. And then Jamison Williams, can he burn the Bucs deep? Yeah, absolutely can. But they don't put him on the field enough, so I don't know if he will or not. For me, Nico Collins, other than last week where he had a down week, has been a good play week in and week out. For me, it's Nico Collins.
And I agree. I agree. For me, it's Nico Collins as well. I said it last week. I'm playing Nico Collins until Nico Collins shows me he's Nico Collins. He's been pretty good every single week. Tank Dell, I believe, has been ruled out with a concussion. So that's just more opportunity for Nico Collins. The matchup is absolutely not the greatest versus the Saints. Saints are a very good defense overall, both against the run and against the pass. But I think this is going to be a game where Nico Collins gets back out there and shows you that he's been who he's been through the first few weeks of the season. Can't trust Barkley with that ankle. They're down 3 starting offensive linemen. One of the 3 offensive linemen that they're down was actually their second string lineman until the first string lineman went down. So they're down to like the third string lineman. Like, it's just bad. So I don't want nothing to do with Barkley. Matter of fact, the notes I did this morning for the show, I actually had Barkley as a bench. I just put bench him, don't play him. And I can't trust Jamison Williams. The only other one you got is T. Higgins. I want to see him. He's active, but I want to see him go out there, play, and be something more than a distraction or a what's it called? A decoy for the Bengals, because that's what he was last week, was a decoy. So your safest play is Nico Collins.
Yeah, look, man, I would love to have Barkley if I knew he played last week. I want to see a week before I'm putting Barkley back in my lineup, which I do have him in there. I kind of have him in some of my lineups, waiting to see if I'm going to pull him at the last minute. But Nico Collins is a clear choice here. I want to see more out of Jamison Williams, T. Higgins coming off of injury and everything. So you guys pretty much hit it on the nail. I'm going Nico Collins.
What's frustrating for him is, for Logan, is I know when he drafted this team, like he had I got T. Higgins, I got Barkley. Jamison Williams got that 6-game suspension, but I'll get him back. I'll be good. And right now of those, Nico Collins is his best option.
Well, he probably didn't. He may not have drafted Williams, but was able to pick him up a couple weeks ago, right? Like that's probably the move there.
That's a possibility.
You know, But either way, you'd think you'd have a bunch of guys, and it's just the way the fantasy season has gone.
Yeah.
Brandon Williams with a question. Morning, guys. Ertz, Palmer, JT, or Downs? I can't believe JT is in this. This is how far the fantasy season has fallen. JT is in the mix with Ertz, Palmer, and Downs. Rich, I'm gonna start with you. You got the stones to start JT this week?
If I have him, I'm starting him. It's a tough one and stuff like that. But your options right here. I like Ertz a lot this week and everything, but I like Palmer. I mean, he's playing against the Cowboys. I do like Downs. I've kind of hit it up, but man, I think JT takes another more opportunity and everything, but this could easily burn us. This is a tough one, man. I'm starting JT where I have him and stuff like that. I have to.
I'm gonna wait to see it because Zach Moss is still playing very well, so there's no real motivation for the team to rush JT back out there, other than obviously they want to win. But if Zach Moss is playing well, there's not a ton of real motivation to force him early to get all the touches while you get him back into football shape. For me, I'm going to go ahead and take Zach Ertz. It's the fifth best matchup against tight ends.
Yep.
And like you've been saying, garbage time is fantasy football time. And Zach Ertz does nothing but catch garbage time receptions and get garbage time points, and I'm here for it. So for me, this is Ertz. But George, you gonna break the tie, or you going a totally different way on your own?
Oh, I don't want to do that to Brandon. I'm going to answer his question. For me, it's Jonathan Taylor. One thing Jonathan Taylor loves doing in his career is playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. His career, he's got 84 carries for 522 yards and 3 touchdowns in 5 games against the Jaguars. He averages 104.4 rush yards a game against them. Yes, that is bolstered by a game where he had 253 rushing yards against them. So the numbers are a little bit skewed, but he still has a history of putting up big numbers against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not sitting him. I started him last week. I'm starting him this week. I'm starting Jonathan Taylor every single week because I didn't spend a second or third round pick to bench the guy knowing he's healthy.
All right, so that's 2 for Taylor and 1 for Ertz. Bobby Ham, 2 different teams, Saints D or Falcons D, and then also Saints D or Lions D. If the answer is Saints for both, should I drop the other options to stash Cleveland's D? All right, thinking about defenses here. It's close. I probably go Falcons defense here. Sam Howell has been turnover prone, and I like those odds. Whereas where the Texans haven't turned the ball over, quarterback is Stroud has been playing very good football and very safe football as far as interceptions go. And then Saints D or Lions D. Tampa's another team that hasn't turned over the ball a lot, a couple times against the Eagles, but that Lions defense seems to always be around the ball. I think I probably take the Saints over the Lions, and then I stash Cleveland's D. I drop the Lions and pick up Cleveland. Okay, so I went through it all. You guys are studying it. I see it both on your faces.
I think we're both, Rich and I are both watching the Texan or the Ravens Tennessee game. Rich, did you just see that hit? Is that what you were looking at?
No.
They kicked one of the safeties for the Ravens out of the game. One of the receivers, Moore, went up for a reception and had his arms fully extended, and one of the DBs came out and complete targeting, led with his helmet right into the defenseless wide receiver's helmet and basically knocked him unconscious there for a few seconds. Then he got up and he did the Tua neck injury where he was kind of just stumbling all over the place. Like that, both guys are done for the game. They're not letting the receiver back in, but they kicked the other guy out, the defender out of the game as well. It was just, if you get a chance to watch it. It was a very nasty hit. Definitely uncalled for. It was a dirty play for sure. And then Derrick Henry said, "I'll follow that up with a touchdown." So that was great. But as far as Robert Ham's question here, I'm going to agree with Jason. Let's go with the Saints D, and then stash Cleveland.
Yeah, so I'm the same boat with both you guys and stuff like that. You lined it out real well, and then George went into the spill on the game going and stuff like that. So I'm not going to drag this one any longer. So
sorry about that.
No, you're good. I mean, I was sitting here just really studying and listening to Jason, and he made valid points and everything. So that's why I'm going that route.
Look at me actually making valid points. All right, Peter Sandoval, Hollywood Brown, or Michael Pittman for flex. I don't mind starting with this one. I think Pittman with Gardner Minshew is better than Pittman with Anthony Richardson. And I am going to say Michael Pittman over Hollywood, who has outproduced what we all thought he was going to do and has outproduced what we all currently think he's doing. Nobody actually is thinking that Hollywood Brown has been as good as he is, but he has been. I still give me Michael Pittman because I think he's also a guy who's sneakily been better than we all expected. He's not as good as some of us thought he could be, but he's been better than some of us thought he would be. How about that?
So for me, it's Pittman as well. I've got him down as a must start this week if you've got him. His last 3 games against the Jaguars, 8 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown, 13 catches for 134 yards, 6 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Jaguars allow 180 receiving yards and a touchdown per game to opposing wide receivers. So as much as I like Hollywood Brown, and trust me, I really like Hollywood Brown, I like Michael Pittman more.
Yeah, look, Hollywood Brown is averaging 5 receptions for 68 yards and scored 3 times in the last 4 games. He's been doing good and stuff like that, but he does have a touchdown that's really helping his stats and everything, which is great. That's what we want to see and everything. He's been over 50 yards in every game this season, so he has a good floor if you want to have him in here. But Pittman is the man I'm going to choose based off of his gameplay and with the Minshew in there. So I like Pittman. All
right. Logan Glaze, half PPR, half point for first down, guys. Keontae Ingram or Amari DiMercado?
Oh, this is easy.
Yeah, for me as well. It's going to be DiMercado.
Yep.
Keontae Ingram just has looked bad when he's been on the field. I know he's listed as the starter, but, that's just – I think once they put them both on the field and you see who's got the hot hand, Amari's going to be the guy. Rich?
So,
yeah. Go ahead, George.
Well,
no, go ahead, George. I agree with Jason, so that's my choice too.
Yeah, I agree with him too. Keontae, as Jason mentioned, is listed as a starter, but historically he's bad. He's averaged 1.7 yards per carry, which, by the way, I fully believe I could average 1.7 yards per carry in the NFL.
You're a big man, George. I agree with you 100% on that one.
I'm falling forward. I'm falling forward.
But here's the thing. Where are you taking the snap from? Because
in the backfield, under center. The quarterback's going to be under center. I'm going to get my 3 or 4 steps to go forward, and then I'm just going to fall.
Listen, maybe
I'm 6'2". I can extend the arm. I can put both arms out there. I can get 1.7 yards per carry for like 5 carries. Just give me 5 carries. I'll average 1.7.
I don't think you survive 5 carries.
I survived 5 carries. I'm tougher than you think, Jason, especially with shoulder pads on. But DiMercado, he rushed for 45 yards. He showed he can catch the ball in the backfield, and he scored a touchdown last week. I get Keontae Ingram is listed as a starter. I don't care. I want Amari DiMercado.
All right. I think what we've learned here is you should take George over either one of these guys.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, it's because I'm falling forward. I'm 6'2". I'm 300 pounds. I'm not going to be an easy guy to bring down. I'm as big as most of the defensive linemen. I mean, it is what it is.
The problem is I feel like you don't have the ability to get the leverage to get low. That's my worry with you. I think you run
I'm
high.
gonna run
George.
into them. They're not knocking me back. So they're gonna pull me forward, is what they're gonna do. They're gonna try to slam me and use my momentum as going forward to their advantage. And that's how I'm falling forward.
All right. Well,
I got this.
I believe you. 100%.
I don't, because I've seen him play football.
You haven't seen me play running back. You see me play tight end.
Yeah, well,
on a gimpy ankle.
Bobby Ham asks, Baker, Mayday Mayfield, or Gardner the Mustache Minshew? Oh man, I have Baker ranked higher than Gardner, so I'm gonna say Baker, but I don't feel good about it because every time I pick Baker in one of these things, he does awful. So I don't want to pick him, but I'm gonna pick him. Rich,
go ahead, Rich.
It's Rich's turn.
I'm going Minshew. I know Lions Bucks game is going to be a good game, but it's just the fact that Minshew's playing against Jags and everything, and I think he's gonna have a little moxie in this game. So he has good talent around him. I look for him to take advantage of it. I know Mayfield does too and everything, but I think Minshew out edges him.
It is a revenge game. I didn't take that into account. So, do we think he brings the Speedo back? Anybody?
I hope so.
I hope he brings the Speedo back, and I hope the Jags mascot brings the Speedo back from last year too.
Well, so what I'm hoping is at like halftime or before the game, the mascot brings the Speedo out to Minshew and like, hey, you forgot this.
And that lines up to, hey, that's the whole reason why I'm picking Minshew.
That tracks. That absolutely tracks.
George,
I'm going with the mustache Minshew as well. The Jaguars have allowed 4 of 5 quarterbacks this season to score at least 22.9 fantasy points, and that included Anthony Richardson in Week 1. I talked about Michael Pittman, how I like him this week, what he's done the last 3 times he's faced the Jaguars. Minshew started for the Colts in Week 3 at Baltimore and scored 15.1 fantasy points, but Baltimore is a much better team and a much better defensive matchup than the Jaguars. You do have the revenge factor as well. I'm taking the mustache.
All right, 2-1 mustache. These two gentlemen are taking a mustache ride.
Yep.
Mini Jordan 718 need full PPR, need 1 wide receiver to pick up and start. Josh Reynolds, DJ Chark, Lazard, Bourne, Shaheed, Parker, or JSN. It's a lot here. Pick up and start. It's a lot. So let's take a look, guys. Anybody? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Josh Reynolds, the wide receiver 2 for the Chargers. It is the highest over/under game according to Vegas. I expect Josh Reynolds. Or wait a second, I'm thinking Josh Palmer.
You're thinking of Josh Palmer. Josh Reynolds plays for the Lions.
Yeah, wrong Josh. Damn, I was so excited like this was an easy one. You don't want Shaheed. You're not starting Deontay Parker. You're not starting JSN. Kendrick Bourne's kind of interesting, isn't he?
Rich, I'm going to make an executive decision if you're okay here.
This is the ugly one.
Mini Jordan is getting a square. This is ugly. This is one of the two. I'll let you pick the second one for sure. But this one's got it.
Mini Jordan. Look, this is ugly too. So just what Jason is, reach out to us after the show, or shoot us how we can reach out to you. You can follow, hit me up at Frito Bandito _FF on Twitter. If you are part of our Gilded chat, hey, hit us up in our Gilded chat and everything. Hit Coach Shep's up. Anybody that is in our chat right now and stuff like that, go hit us up at Gilded and stuff like that. Look, we do this all week. It's kind of like leads into what we're doing today and everything, but we do this all week. And the benefit of it is you have over 240 people that are in there that is giving their input too with the rest of the team that we have and everything. So hit us up. And this was I'm so scared. I don't even know if I want to even look at this one. Let me turn away real quick.
I know who I'm picking. I've got it.
Go ahead.
Upside only for me. It's DJ Chark. They're going to be down. He's going to have to throw the ball. It's 100% just garbage time, like hoping to get some points for a guy. I don't like Josh Reynolds in this matchup against the Buccaneers. They've been giving up 50 yards or less basically to wide receivers. I think Amon-Ra is going to do well, but I think short of that, I think it's not going to be a great game for that team. Jared Goff is way worse on the road than he is at home. Lazard, are you really going to trust White there? And then Bourne, he's interesting, I guess, against the Raiders, but we're going to give Mac Jones a wide receiver some run.
This is why it's an ugly question.
Shaheed is okay, when he scores a touchdown. He's an upside play as well. I'm just going to say Chark of the uglies, and then I'll pass it off to George.
So the thing that concerns me about DJ Chark, despite playing 90% of the snaps, so this dude is always on the field. Like he's always on the field. He only sees 12% of the target share. He only gets 2 to 4 targets a game. So if you're going with DJ Chark, lower expectations, because while he's out there a lot, like he's just not targeted at all.
I get what you're saying, but I don't think is anybody here getting more than 12%?
No. Like Shaheed is the biggest boom bust player there is, and I know we were touting him at the beginning of the year, he was doing good at the beginning of the year, but no, I agree with Chark, but man, I don't like any of this. Like, I want to quit unless you tell me this is like a 16-team, 18-team, 24-team league. Like, yeah, this is just gross.
Yeah, look, I am gonna go DJ Chark because I'm in a situation where I had to pick somebody up off the free agency this week, and out of the choices I had, he's to me he has the best opportunity. I picked him up in a league this week for a spot play and everything. Look, Josh Reynolds is a good choice too and everything, but I'm leaning Chark over Reynolds.
Chark over Reynolds. All right, so that's 2 of us for Chark. I'm not 100% sure where George landed, but we'll just say we all said Chark and move on. Carla Ross, strategy trade question. Dino Superflex, 4-point touchdown, -1 for interceptions. My early 2024 second for Pickett. My QBs are Tyrod and PJ, 0-5 in an orphan rebuild. I'm just going to say no. Look, I'm going to say no. But you could talk me into it for the reason that maybe you could use Pickett as a trade bait later paired with something. But I want an early second. And if you're 0-5, that means you're probably going to have the 13th pick overall. And I want whatever that 13th pick is over what we've seen of Kenny Pickett. I will remind you, gentlemen, that we had a conversation about Kenny Pickett in the offseason that Toilets to Titles made a short because I was on the fence whether he was better than Mason Rudolph, I think it was. I can't remember which. And I don't know at this moment. I might take Mason Rudolph. But, George, we'll go with you next. Do you do this trade in Dynasty? It's super flex and it's a quarterback, but
I absolutely do it, and that's why. Because it is a super flex and it is a Dynasty. Kenny Pickett, still a young quarterback. You're not getting a starting caliber quarterback with the 13th pick overall in a Dynasty startup or a Dynasty league. The 2.01, you're not getting a starting quarterback there. Your quarterbacks are Tyrod Taylor and PJ Walker. That's another reason why you do this. At least give yourself a chance to have a starting caliber quarterback week in, week out. It's an orphan. So, next year you're probably looking at either Caleb Williams or Drake May as your starting quarterback, and then your super flex will be then Kenny Pickett. I'm gonna do this trade.
And Rich.
George, man, all great valid points and everything. she's 0-5 and everything, obviously in a rebuild. Look, her first pick is probably going to be one of those guys anyways. So she's already going to have one good one. Do you want to have, man, here's the thing I like about this question right here. Okay. So when you say there's no one available for this second pick and everything, okay. Super flex, look, a lot of running backs and receivers get pushed back because of being super flex and everything. So you're obviously going to get a good pick with that first pick, I would believe, in this super flex. But now you're also getting an opportunity for a running back or receiver to fall to you at that 13th pick and everything. So that's the only thing that kind of scares me from the reason why I wouldn't do this trade and everything. Look, you ain't going to build your team unless you have picks and everything. And Pickett is not, to me, I don't think he's the future. I think when it's all said and done, he might not be there in 2 years and everything. So would that second that you're getting in the 13th overall pick, he's probably going to be on your team and everything. So to me, I don't do this trade because that's how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, just, especially in a super flex, 13th
you're
pick.
Probably already getting one good QB with your first pick overall anyways.
Yeah, you're probably getting Caleb Williams or Drake May. Caleb Williams is probably who I would go with. He's going to be an absolutely phenomenal quarterback in the NFL. My thinking is you could probably use Kenny Pickett as your starter for the rest of this year. Worst case scenario, towards the end of the year, if somebody suffers another injury, hey, you could flip Kenny Pickett for a late first to a contender.
So just going back, because we forget when we get to week 6, like I'm going back and looking at some rookie rankings, and right now I'm on PFFs just to see like Zay Flower was 11th, so it's not unheard of that he would have fallen to 13th. Devon Achane was 13th. Sam Laporta was 14th. Tajay Spears is 15th. Jaden Reed, who's played well, was 17th. Roshan Johnson, who's got some run, was 20th. Rashee Rice, who everybody thinks is going to be halfway decent if they ever decide to use him the way they should, 21st. Josh Downs, 22nd. So, like, there's a lot of talent there at 13 that I wouldn't want to give up because I took Pickett. But it really is like, if you think you're going to, I don't need a starter for the rest of this year. You're 0-5. You obviously don't think your team's going to be competitive this season. So I don't need Pickett for this year if that's what you're like hoping on there. The only reason I take Pickett is for the possibility to flip him for something better. And I'm not sure that if you trade him for a second that you're going to be able to convince somebody he's worth more, maybe to a team that needs a quarterback late in the season. But for me, I don't do it. That's why. But again, there's strategic reasons, and you did mention strategy trade question. There's strategic reasons to do it, especially if you think you can flip him for more. So I think we talked through that one. Duarte 5656. I do want to mention too, Duarte was in the chat as soon as we started up and waited, till 11:18 to ask a question. That's some dedication. I appreciate that. Jumping in, watching the show, and then asking. Brandon Cooks, who he has in all caps, he's the only one in all caps, so I don't know if that's the way he's leaning. But Brandon Cooks, Curtis Samuels, or Robert Woods? George.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pull up my stuff on Curtis Samuel. My answer is Curtis Samuel. He's. Oh, let me pull him up because. Sorry, I'm trying to filibuster, but it's really not working. Here we go. So Curtis Samuel's topped 51 yards in 4 or 5 games. Good matchup against D. Alford, who gave up last week a passer rating of 102 and two touchdowns last week. They're using Curtis Samuel all over the field. He's been using them as a running back. They're using him as a wide receiver. I'm going with Curtis Samuel here. I think the opportunities that he's getting have been phenomenal all year. Robert Woods is nursing an injury, so we're not even sure if he's 100%.
All right. I am going to say that for the same reason, I liked Robert Woods until he got hurt last week. So for me, it's Brandon Cooks hasn't done anything, although it's a real high over under, but it's just Dak hasn't looked his way a lot. Gallup's 100% healthy. So I'm going to say Curtis Samuel as well, just because when he's been on the field, he's been the second best receiver on the field, which is hard for me to say because I was a Dotson guy.
To go with Brandon Cooks, he's actually getting less and less targets and snaps as each week progresses. So they're kind of fading him out of the offense a little bit right now.
Yeah, look, Brandon Cooks everybody was high on him coming in thinking he was a great 2 for CD Lamb and everything. But man, there's a lot of young receivers that have been stepping up and getting an opportunity and everything. So Cooks is out for me. Woods is out because of his injury and everything. And then, like I said, look, we also got to think Tank Dell is out, correct?
Tank Dell's out.
And stuff like that. So he might see an uptick, but he is dealing with the injury. Curtis Samuel is the choice I'm going to go based off of reasoning for the other two. And my compadres lean in that direction too. They are great minds.
I don't know about great minds, but hey,
something I've never been told before.
That's absolutely the case with me as well. I'm gonna ask and answer this question, then I'll be right back. Ugly Superflex question: Ritter or Wilson? I'm gonna say Ritter because he's got the rushing upside. His offensive line isn't getting him killed, and he had a good week last week. 2 weeks ago we saw Wilson play okay, but not something I expect from him pretty much ever again. So for me, it's gonna be Ritter.
So for me too, I'm going Ritter too, based because Wilson is playing against the Eagles defense. I know we talked about this earlier. Is he going to have the time to throw? They can be thrown on, but that defensive line for the Eagles is nasty and everything. So I'm really worried for the fact that that's the case. So Ritter hasn't been beautiful at all, by no means at all, and everything. So yeah, look, I'm leaning Ritter in this question, George.
Yeah, I'm going Ritter as well. Last week, Ritter had his first 300-yard game. Only Josh Dobbs has failed to score multiple touchdowns versus Washington. The Commanders right now, they're currently ranked 26th in pass rush win rate, which means they're not very good. He should be viewed as a high-end QB2 startable in Superflex leagues. That's the notes verbatim what I wrote for Desmond Ritter. I won't even read what I wrote for Zach Wilson because it wasn't very flattering or pretty. So we're going to go. It's going to be Ritter, Andrew, for this one. We'll go over to Bobby here. That would be my backup defense. Currently starting the Falcons, but I have the Saints on the bench, which is why I asked about the upcoming question. Wishes he could send us a screenshot of his roster. I don't want you to send a screenshot of your roster because I don't want everybody else to be jealous of how good your team is. Here you go, Rich. You got to sit one, and I want you to answer this. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase. He is starting Tua at his quarterback. So that's Carl's wide receiver core. You have to sit one. Go ahead, Rich.
Oh my goodness. So we are giving away a square for the ugliest question and stuff like that. But does this qualify as one of the hardest ones that we would have to answer, George? Is this a hard one for you?
For me, no. It's. I know who I'm sitting already.
I know who I am too, but man, damn, I would love to freaking have this options. But on the same token, you have to make this choice every week and everything.
Yep. For me, I'm sitting Jalen Waddle.
I was going to say the same thing.
He just hasn't. He hasn't been very productive. I can't sit Chase after a 3-touchdown game. I can't sit Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua after they're getting 10 and 11 targets and receptions each last week from Matt Stafford. I get the game against the Panthers is a juicy one for Waddle, but they've had a lot of juicy matchups, and Waddle a couple of fluke plays where touchdowns were taken off the board for him, but he just overall hasn't been very productive. So for me, while this is a very nasty question, it's also a very easy one. As a Dolphins fan, Dolphins hat, got the little Dolphins banner in the background here with the stadium and the flag. Like, I'm sitting Jalen Waddle here.
So now that I'm back, I agree with you guys on sitting Waddle, but I also want to mention, Carl, it's a great question to have, but it's not a great question to have. Like, we're getting to the point where some of these you should like be trying to trade to upgrade, right? Like, I absolutely would try and sell high and get a running back plus back, a Montgomery plus, especially for one of these studs, because go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I'm glad you lean that way and stuff like that. Look, I know this might not be the greatest response, or maybe the craziest response, but I would look into trading maybe a cut for like CMC. Like, you got good receivers and everything. Would you rather have cut for the rest of the season or Nakua?
I probably would rather have Cup for the rest of the season than Nakua.
Yeah.
I worry about the injury, right? Like, I guess that's probably my main concern with Cup. But of the two, I mean, Cup came in, had more receptions and yards, and Nakua, I think, had the touchdown. But they were both good, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like I wouldn't want either one of them, but I do think you, like, with your wide receivers, the real issue I have here is that you've got too many, and you're going to have too many each and every week. And I don't know what your running back situation is. We answered your question. We dual sit Waddle. I know you didn't ask this question. I just like, when I see stuff like this, I go, man, you can go get a solid running back. You're shooting for the moon with McCaffrey. If you can get him, shoot for the moon. That's fine. But if you can't, there's guys that you can get plus, right? Like, you can upgrade your tight end position and your running back position with one of these guys at the same time. So that's something I just look at if I'm an owner at this point in the season with this good of options.
Yeah, so here's the reason why I lean that direction. Look, I like Waddle and stuff like that, but I just don't know if I like him for the rest of the season and stuff. He's going to have his games and everything. Could you package Waddle and Cup for CMC, and would you be happy with that trade-off?
No, because I feel like I'm way overpaying for CMC.
I agree with you and stuff like that. But there's sometimes you have to make these decisions and stuff like that. And I would love to have that decision. I would like to take a 1.5 running back and everything, and have to have one of these guys on my bench that puts up a solid week and everything. And the points are sitting on my bench.
I think it really depends on who his running backs are.
Yeah, true.
With that answer. So it's tough to make actual trades when you don't have the rosters of your team and the other team. I don't know that I trade Waddle and Cup, but I trade Waddle and one of my decent running backs for, Christian McCaffrey and get it done. I'd 100% do that if you can. Anyway, so let's see. Bobby Ham, Higgins is active. Pick a tight end and 2 flexes. Higgins, Laporta, Cole Kmet, Logan Thomas, Gallup, Cooks, Woods, Devontae Parker, available on waivers. All right, guys, let's start with the tight end. Who's the tight end you're starting 100% starting? I am not answering Bobby's question, or asking Bobby's question right. But which tight end are we starting this week of Laporta, Kmet, and Logan Thomas?
So he's playing. I think you're 100% starting Sam Laporta, right? Like, you're not benching Laporta for Kmet or Logan Thomas.
I have Laporta ranked number 1, but he is dealing with the injury and everything. So that's my only worry. He is going to play. So I have to choose Laporta in this as my one tight end. Great options.
Yes.
The tough part for me is the Bucks are, I think, 5th best against tight ends. I mean, they played Hawkinson, they played Goddard. So it's not like they've played only terrible tight ends. Yeah, you can't not play Laporta because Laporta's played well. I think he has the toughest matchup though. Yeah. But you can't not play Laporta. So, okay, we're all playing Laporta. So as far as flex goes, There's not somebody, Komet maybe. There's not somebody here that I would take over the shot of Higgins, especially Cooks, Woods, Devontae, Gallup, Cooks, Woods.
So he needs two flexes. So I'm on board with Higgins. So
Yep.
we got Laporta and Rich. Are you on board with Higgins?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So it's either Cole Kmet or Logan Thomas, and he's got Gallup, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and Devontae Parker available on waivers. And before anybody asks, yes, he's tried to trade his tight ends. Just throwing that out there. For me, I'm going to go with Logan Thomas. He had a big week 5 against Chicago, and he's got a really good matchup week 6 against Atlanta. The Bears held Thomas to 9 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown on 11 targets. Atlanta's is the 30th ranked defense against opposing tight ends. The Falcons give up the number 2 most fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends. And 4 guys, Hayden Hurst, Sam Laporta, Evan Ingram, and Dalton Schultz, have scored at least 12.9 fantasy points against Atlanta. So I'm going to roll out with Logan Thomas. They've been targeting him quite a bit the last couple of weeks. Cole Kmet's got a good matchup against Minnesota as well, but I like Logan Thomas's matchup better.
Yeah, look, I'm going Laporta, Higgins, and I'm going Logan Thomas too. I have Thomas ranked in my top 10 at number 8 this week and everything. So I like his matchup. That will, and especially I love it so much more because of the fact how he was utilized last week's game and everything. And I want to I want to hope that they keep utilizing him that way.
Yep.
I'm gonna agree with you guys as well. I'm just checking to see. Looks like Ryan Tannehill went to the locker room with a right ankle
He's been
injury.
carted. Yeah, he got carted out. He rolled his ankle.
So who's playing quarterback for them now?
Malik Willis.
It's Willis and not
Wow.
Levis.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Not that that's going to be any better for that team, but fine. Yeah, as far as it goes, I'm on board with Higgins, Laporta, and Logan Thomas as well. You know, Gallup's one that I could potentially see picking up here because it is a high over-under. They're going to have to throw it to somebody besides the Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb. So, you know, maybe Gallup gets it going, but I think Logan Thomas is definitely the safe play for sure. Daniel Brown, PPR flex play. Who do we want here,
Daniel
guys?
Brown was asking the question on Twitter, and I shot him our link, told him to jump on our show and everything. So Daniel, appreciate you jumping on, and hopefully we draw you back to come hit us up every week and everything. So appreciate you jumping on.
With that, Daniel, if you're not part of our gilded chat, hit us up at toiletstitle@gmail.com, and you can be part of our chat where we answer these questions throughout the week in the chat. There's like 250 plus people talking football at any given time. We talk about start sits, your trade advice, all that kind of stuff, but we just talk football in general. You don't have to talk about fantasy. You can talk about what your favorite team's doing and you know, the ins and outs of pretty much anything in football, and we joke around a lot in there too. So a lot of fun in the gilded chat. If you want to be part of that, toiletstitles@gmail.com. But for his specific question, guys, DJ Moore, who's been in the flames, who's been great, who's been incredible the last 2 weeks, or DeAndre Swift, who's had a much better season than a lot of people thought he would. I see George is reading up on something, so I'm going to go with Rich to give.
I'm ready. Jason, I'm Showtime. I'm always ready. But go to Rich first.
But you know what? With the Showtime title you gave yourself, I'm still going to Rich first.
Yeah. So DJ Moore and Swift. The beautiful thing about this is I have both these players ranked at both positions and stuff in the top 10. So both are solid plays, which makes it a hard question for you. And I understand why you're asking this. Yes, DJ Moore had a huge game and everything. Swift does have competition that he has to play against every week and stuff, but it's still getting the job done. Swift is playing against the Jets and DJ Moore against the Vikings. What's more enticing than that? Man, these are great. This is a great question. It's a good thing that you have this opportunity or this kind of a question. You have the opportunity to play either of these guys. So, in a long roundabout, and I apologize. I'm going running back over the receiver.
That is the correct play. It's DeAndre Swift. They're close. When it's close, Daniel, it always goes to the running back for me. Since week 2, DeAndre Swift is the RB5 overall in fantasy football. He's averaging 5.7 yards per carry, 17.4 fantasy points per game. Swift has done all that against 4 tough defenses that are typically stopping fantasy running backs so far this year. He now faces the New York Jets, who you typically think of as a good run defense. They're really not. Jason pointed that out to me last week. I did a little bit of digging into that. The Jets defense allows the 11th most fantasy points per game to the running back position. Jets have also let up the sixth most rushing yards and 3rd most receiving yards to opposing running backs. In other words, they're basically struggling to stop anything that is a strength of DeAndre Swift. He's dominated the carry count since week 2. Expect that to continue. I would play DeAndre Swift over DJ Moore.
It is not often that George tells me that I've educated him on something, so I do appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
When you're right, you're right. I mean, dead clock's right twice a day. You just happened to be a dead clock last week.
I'll take that in the tight end win last week,
Yep.
Schultz, and I'll move on. But Daniel Brown, listen, I'm probably going DJ Moore because his upside is. I mean, yeah, Swift has upside too. I'm probably going to say DJ Moore because the matchup is juicy against the Vikings, and I want somebody to love me the way Justin Fields loved DJ Moore last week. I'm going to take DJ and just say, like, it's been 2 solid weeks in a row, and I think 3 is coming. But it's 2-1 Swift versus DJ Moore. And it's not either. I think both are going to be good options for you this week, so I don't think it's going to hurt you if you picked either one. Like on the notes that we have for the show today, both of these players are just listed as must start, which is not helpful when you have them both. But I'd also like to see what you're not starting and able to play these guys. But, you know, there's so many of you guys that have great teams that, like, I say that every week, and it's like, oh, well, I'm also starting like AJ Brown and CD Lamb, and you're like, okay, I guess I see your point.
I see why it's difficult now.
Yep. But for sure, for me, it's DJ Moore, and for these two, it was DeAndre Swift. So 2-1, it's going to be Swift. Peter says, "Thank you, fellas, amazing job today." Well, look, I appreciate that. I feel like the show's been entertaining, so I'll take the amazing job. But we'll see what the results look like before I'm going to take any credit for how our picks were. I do think, though, like our entertainment value, way off the charts.
Oh, yeah.
So, Zion, Debo, Olave, Devontae Smith, Pittman, Jacoby Myers. You have to start 2 of these, gentlemen. That's some decent. That's another one of those. Maybe you should trade some guys.
No, it's not.
No,
Okay,
I
George,
think in this case right here, it's good to have these options and stuff like that. It's just you're constantly going to have to make a decision every week, and it's based off of matchups and everything. This is a time of the year where, look, I would almost rather have this many options at your running back because of the injury bug going on with running backs. But this is a great option to have and everything. Because, look, it's going to come down to there's going to be injuries that happen at receivers too and everything, and you have the option to go through. Hopefully, not all these receivers, but you have the option to always plug and play with some of these guys. But with that being the case, I'm actually leaning Devontae Smith as one of mine, as the cornerbacks from the Jets are both starting. I think are out, if I'm correct. And then it comes down to me for Pittman and Debo. But I'm going to lean Pittman in this. So I'm going Smith and Pittman.
Rich, we're like right here today. It's fantastic when that happens. I already talked about Michael Pittman, the numbers he's put up against the Jaguars the last 3 games. There's absolutely no way I'm sitting him, and he seems to do actually even better with Gardner Minshew back there than Anthony Richardson. And you hit the nail right on the head. Eagles versus the Jets should be a good game. But both Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed are both out for this game. And so I want Devonta Smith. I think we're going to see Jalen Hurts take a couple shots deep to Devonta Smith this week.
Oh man, you guys making me do it. I have Devonta Smith in a bunch of leagues. It hasn't been a fun season. Last week they got Goddard involved, and that basically erased Devonta Smith. 1 reception, something like 16 yards. Do I see that happening multiple weeks? No. Do I see it possibly happening again? Maybe. What I can say is that Jacoby Myers has been getting it done. He's playing against New England, who is they're absolutely terrible. They've given up 72 points in the last 2 games. Jacoby Myers, I'll get to you in 1 second, George. Actually, you know what? Go ahead.
Revenge game for Jacoby Myers.
It's exactly right. I was going to get there. Jacoby Myers basically got traded for Juju Smith-Schuster in a roundabout way, right? The Patriots took on Juju's contract for exactly what Jacoby signed for in Las Vegas. In my head there, I went through Los Angeles and then Oakland and then finally arrived. If you saw me stutter there, it's because I got to the other 2 cities they've been in my lifetime. But the contract is roughly the same for Myers and Juju Smith-Schuster. It's amazing that the Patriots continue to get it wrong at wide receiver over and over and over again. They had a guy. They finally picked a guy that nobody expected to be great, and he was very good for them, and he's gone on to the Raiders and done nothing but been, I'd say a number 2 target because Devontae Adams, but man, like last week he was number 1 target, and he might be number 1 target again this week, especially playing against the Patriots. So you guys both pick Smith and Pittman, which is reasonable because Smith's a superstar and Pittman's going to have a really good game against the Jaguars. But for me, I'm going to take an upside play with Pittman, and I'm going to take like a safe floor with a very big upside in Jacoby Myers. With that said, and I filibustered a whole lot just to say that you guys outvoted me there, Devonta Smith and Michael Pittman. But again, all 3 are great options. And just to touch on the other guys here, Debo is in that 4-way, potential. He's more often than not been the odd person out. Ayuk's had big games. Kittle just had a big game. Debo, as tough as it is, there's a lot of talent to go around there. There's a lot of talent for one football there. Olave's had a down year and is hurt, so that's the reason why I didn't really glance that direction. So 2-1 Smith and Pittman. I have to address this. Jason, you're drinking White Mountain Dew. I'm canceled. So here's the thing about me. If there's a new 0 sugar soda, I drink the new 0 sugar soda. In its mystery flavor voodoo. It wasn't bad. I'll drink it. I don't care.
Hey, I appreciate that. Mountain Dew is under PepsiCo, so you're padding in my 401k stock. So thank you very much, sir.
Listen, I also hit a whole bunch of your Lays. It's George.
I'm covering Georgia.
Look, I have to say, I do have to say, Diet Pepsi is trash, and it should be not sold anymore. Oh, poor George. Diet Pepsi is trash and should not be sold anywhere where drinks are offered. But Diet Mountain Dew, Diet Dr. Pepper, Dr. Pepper is not really Pepsi, I guess, but whatever. Diet Mountain Dew is delicious and should flow from fountains. I also bought a bunch of your chips this morning because they were on sale at Publix. So,
thank you very much.
Pro tip from me to you. And let's see. Josh Palmer or Jacoby Myers in the flex, half PPR. I'm just going to say Jacoby Myers after I heap praise on him one question ago.
Yeah, I read this question earlier, and I already knew where I was going this route to. Look, you hit it on the nail. Look, there's games where he is the number 1 option there and everything. And sometimes a majority of the time that's going to be the case because they're always double teaming Devontae Adams and everything. So Myers has been very refreshing pickup for us this year.
George,
and I'm gonna take the safe route. I'm gonna go Josh Palmer. He's a volume play. He's playing in the game that's the highest over under according to Vegas with Dallas and the Chargers. He's been the wide receiver two for the Chargers while Mike Williams has been out. I think that continues this week, and we've seen Josh Palmer put up big numbers and big games before. And I expect the same thing this week, especially with Dallas having a banged up secondary. No Diggs, no Leighton Vander Esch. They're missing two guys on their front and their front seven there. Like I expect this game to be an absolute shootout, and I think Josh Palmer is going to put up numbers.
All right, so 2 for Myers, 1 for Palmer. Johnny Shep says, "Happy Sunday, Title Tribe. Happy to get that's family. Happy to get family in on the show." Andrew Miller, pick 1 in PPR. I don't want to tell you how to give your square away, Frito. But pick 1 in PPR. Amari Cooper, Josh Reynolds, Boyd, or Renfro.
I mean,
talent-wise, it's Cooper, right? But
yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, if you would look at this on any other week and stuff like that, you're going to say Cooper. But he does have a tough matchup.
PJ Walker's throwing him the football.
Yeah, I'm still going Cooper over all 3 of these. Higgins is playing, so that rules out Boyd. Renfro could have a game, but he just hasn't been himself with Myers being there this year and McDaniels being there for the past 2 years. Yeah, look, you have to go Cooper. And with that being said, congratulations, Andrew Miller. You are second winner of our Spooky Squares. So hit me up afterwards, or if you can, join our Gilded Chat and hit me and Coach Sheps up so we could get this Spooky Square to you.
All right, so that's 2 of the squares given away. That is a, I'll pump it up again if you guys are interested in doing. You guys all know what the squares are. You pick a square, and then as the game goes on, whatever the points are, there you go. It's for the Raiders Lions game Monday the 30th, and then if you want to get in on that, hit up Coach Sheps. I do. If you guys give me a second, I want to read the payout for the squares as well. But if you want to filibuster while I do that, while I look it back up.
So while you're looking up, I'll give my answer for this question. For me, it's going to be Amari Cooper, and listen, I have him down as a bench player for this week. But the only saving grace is PJ Walker is a veteran quarterback, and I think he will lean on and target his wide receiver 1 more so than anybody else on the field. So I expect him to pepper Amari Cooper with targets. If this was an Eli Moore question, it would be even grosser. But because it's Amari Cooper and he is their wide receiver 1, I expect him to get, kind of peppered with targets even in a rough matchup. I think you're looking safely 50, 60 yards on 4 catches maybe for Cooper. But, I mean, I think that's going to be more than what you're going to get from Reynolds, Boyd, or Renfro.
And I agree. I'm in on that as well. Amari Cooper for me as well. For the squares, and we're running short, so we got a couple questions left. We're going to get through them. For the squares, payouts per quarter: first quarter is $50, second quarter $150, third quarter $75, and final quarter $225. So decent payouts for this. Entries are $5. Hit up Coach Sheps to jump into the squares. All right, Brandon Wilson, with what you said about Wilson earlier, PPR wide receiver 2. Garrett, Palmer, or Downs?
Oh, I really don't trust Garrett Wilson. I don't.
There is a level, right? Like,
yeah,
there is a level, and we might have gotten there for me. I'm gonna.
But like the sad part is like there's a level for Garrett Wilson. And we're not
it's
even sure if Josh Palmer or Josh Downs is the level. Like, is Garrett Wilson below that level?
I'm going Garrett Downs. Look, Garrett, I know
No, he
we've
just
talked
he just
about.
needs one.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah, it's PPR for his wide receiver too. I'm going to go with Josh Palmer. I want the upside of the highest scoring game, wide receiver two. It's the game I'm looking forward to most this week. I cannot trust Garrett Wilson with Zach Wilson throwing him the ball with the pressure that he's going to be under from that Philadelphia Eagles front seven. Like it's not going to be pretty. I can't do it. I would go with Josh Palmer over Garrett Wilson.
Jason,
Rich. I'm gonna take Garrett Wilson, and that's not something I've said. You guys, if you've watched this show, especially more than this 1 week, that is something that I have not said a lot. Not something I say lightly. But given the Eagles' bad secondary and the options here, I'm gonna take Garrett Wilson and hold my breath.
yeah, Downs is real close for me, but I am taking Garrett Wilson too. Look, we kind of hit it on the thing. Look, defense corners for the Jets are out, so Philadelphia is going to be able to throw the ball. So that means it's going to be garbage time and trash time and everything. And the only worry is, does he get enough time to throw the ball and everything? We saw a beautiful game from Breece Hall. If he could somehow replicate that game, maybe that helps the fact for Garrett Wilson and everything, which is a very tall task. I get it and everything, but this is that level where I am choosing Garrett Wilson.
So my concern is Garrett Wilson's only had one game this year with double-digit fantasy points. That was the game against Dallas. Like, he didn't reach double-digit fantasy points against Denver. Didn't do it against KC. Didn't do it against New England. Didn't do it against Buffalo. Like, it's that bad.
Yep, understood. Carla says, thanks for the discussion. That was on the Dynasty, whether or not to grab Kenny Pickett for a second-round pick. Stephen Varner, Tutu or Josh Reynolds? And it's 12:30, so I know we all have to set our lineups. So I'm just going to do this quick here, guys. For me, it's Tutu. He's on the field like almost 100% of the time, and they're playing the Cardinals, so that's why I'm taking him here.
For me, it's Josh Reynolds.
No, I'm going 2-2, so we'll make that quick. 2-1, 2-2.
And that's in the Frankenstank. I don't know if that changes anybody's opinions. I don't think it does. Bobby says, thank you for the hard work, time, and dedication. You're welcome, Bobby. Thank you for watching us every week and asking questions. Really appreciate it. And then final question, guys, on week 6. Start 3. This is something. This one's tough a little bit. Start 3, KJ Osborne, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Gabe Davis, and Adam Thielen. It's tough. For me, KJ Osborne sitting. AJ Brown is a must start. DJ Moore to me is a must start. The problem is Adam Thielen and Gabe Davis have both been very good week in and week out. So that's tough for me. I'm going to say Adam Thielen because they're going to have to pass. They're going to be behind all game. Adam Thielen's absolutely getting targets, receptions, and touchdowns. And I know Gabe Davis has got touchdowns, I think, 4 straight weeks, but it's fluky, whereas Thielen, I know, is getting a ton of receptions each and every week. So for me, it's Brown, Moore, and Thielen. Anybody disagree with that?
No. Listen, Adam Thielen at this point, he's a must start. Lines up in the slot 63% of the time, gets 38% of red zone targets, 34% of Bryce Young's first read is Adam Thielen. He has a 26% target share, 29% of the air yards go to Adam Thielen. Like, this dude's a must start every week. So it's him, DJ Moore, and AJ Brown.
And if we could end one last thing real quick. I know Mr. Robert here, if I wasn't poor, I'd be on Patreon. that I 100% agree with you on that aspect of it. But here's the beautiful thing about it. We do have a free Gilded. And Robert, I don't know if you're in there or not. At least go hit us up at Gilded and stuff and get in our chats and everything. And maybe one day when you hit that lotto, then you can pay it forward and jump in our Patreon. But hey, we do have our Gilded chat.
Here's what we do have. Look, so Gilded is free. You can hit us up at toiletstitles.com or toiletstitles@gmail.com, and we'll get into the Gilded chat. And that gets you in all of our chats aside from our Patreon members chat, right? We also have the $1.50 level. When you get a raise in the next year or whatever, and you decide you want to get in, but you can't do if you want to hit just a little bit at $1.50, if you get a little bit of a raise at work. And then when you do win the lotto, you can have George come over and make you dinner, and he'll cook you ham instead of bacon because you paid for it. So he'll do what you want.
That's why he thinks ham is better than bacon. He can't afford bacon because it's too damn expensive.
It has gotten too damn expensive. But, and that goes for everybody here. We really appreciate everything you guys do in the community. The Gilded is what it is because we have great members who join into the conversations, as well as us like jumping in and discussing with you guys. So we do appreciate you guys watching, listening, and interacting. That every week that kind of stuff makes it so we can be who we are, and makes it so we can help you guys. So we appreciate all of that. I also want to mention patreon.com/toystitles. That's what we were just talking about here, but also toystitles.com. You can check out stuff like mine and Rich's top 10 rankings each week. You can any articles that the guys put out. I know Coach puts out Dudes and Duds. It gives you a schedule of when all of our videos come out. And that's the other thing, guys. Like and subscribe on YouTube, because that tells you anytime we go live or anytime we release a video, it'll give you a little notification, and that way you can watch the content. We have so many shows on the network during the season. You get inundated because there's just so much information, and we're on top of it for you, giving you everything you need for fantasy football and for regular NFL as well. We've got multiple individual team shows each and every week, including the saddest one of the year, the Giants corner. Joe at this point is just hanging his head during the show, and it's sad, but go give Joe a like, and because he's had a rough season after paying Daniel Jones a ton of money to be as terrible as that team's been. So my son said, who apparently has been watching this whole time, says, "Oh, bye, Dad." But here's the good news for you, buddy. It's goodbye for the show, but I can come see you after this. I'm not going away forever, so I'll be there shortly. And then with that, I do want to mention again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for everything. And man, good luck week 6.